Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Not distracted, not comparing, not chasing, just alive. You see, in today's world, most people aren't unhappy because they don't have enough. They're unhappy because they've forgotten how to appreciate what they already have. There's something stealing your joy every single day. And it's not failure, it's not rejection, it's not struggle, it's comparison. Comparison is the silent killer of joy. It creeps in quietly. You scroll, you look, you judge. And without realizing it, you start to believe that your life isn't enough. You stop living your story because you're too busy watching someone else's highlight reel. But let me tell you, you can't build a life you love while envying someone else's. Joy doesn't disappear because life gets harder. It disappears because you stop being present. You trade your gratitude for judgment, your focus for envy. You start asking, why not me? Instead of what can I do with what I have? That mindset is poison. It blinds you to your blessings. Because when you focus on what's missing, you miss what's right in front of you. You see, the people who seem happiest aren't the ones who have it all. They're the ones who appreciate it all. They've learned that real joy comes from progress, not perfection. It comes from knowing you're growing, becoming, contributing, not comparing, not competing. Comparison steals your joy because it disconnects you from your truth. It tricks you into measuring your worth by someone else's timeline. Here's the truth. Someone will always be ahead of you and someone will always be behind you. So the race isn't against them. It's against your limits. Every time you compare, you give away your power. You stop creating and start consuming. You stop appreciating and start complaining. And that's how joy fades. Not with a crash. With a slow leak, you start saying, I'll be happy when I get the job, the car, the recognition, the approval. But joy doesn't live in the future. It lives in the now. You can't postpone peace. You can only choose it. You want to take back your joy, then take back your focus. Stop looking sideways. Stop chasing someone else's validation. Your worth isn't defined by followers, by money, or by status. It's defined by how fully you live your truth. The only competition there is between who you were yesterday and who you are becoming today. That's where real joy begins. In progress, in purpose, in gratitude. Every single day, we're surrounded by images, people, and stories that scream you're not enough yet. You scroll through social media, you see someone richer, happier, fitter, more successful, and instantly, your mind starts whispering, why not me? That's where it begins. The quiet theft of your joy. Comparison doesn't inspire growth. It tricks you into believing that your life only has value when it looks like someone else's, and that belief slowly eats away at your peace, your confidence, your gratitude. You start to live in lack, not abundance. You start focusing on what you don't have instead of the miracle that's already in front of you. The truth is, person is a trap with no finish line, because even if you catch up to one person, there will always be another, someone with more followers, more money, more recognition. And if your joy depends on keeping up with them, you'll never feel fulfilled. You'll spend your entire life chasing validation instead of experiencing true contentment. You give away your power. You stop owning your journey and start running your happiness to the opinions and achievements of others. Everyone's path is different. The person you envy might be in chapter 20 while you're still writing chapter 5, and that's okay. Growth doesn't happen on a shared timeline. You rob yourself of the lessons, the beauty, and the authenticity of your own process. You can't enjoy your story if you're constantly wishing it looked like someone else's. You forget that joy isn't about where you are compared to others. It's about who you're becoming compared to who you were. What makes comparison so destructive is that it creates an illusion of lack. You start seeing what's missing instead of what's present. You forget that you already have blessings people would dream of: health, family, potential, the ability to change. But comparison blinds you to that truth, keeps you stuck in a mental loop of not enough. And when you live in that space, joy has no room to breathe. You cannot experience gratitude and envy at the same time. They cannot coexist. The way out of this trap is awareness. When you catch yourself comparing, that's wait, what part of me feels unfulfilled? Because comparison is never about them. It's about something inside you that needs attention. Use that feeling not as a weapon against yourself, but as a guide to growth. Instead of saying, I wish I had what they have, say,
what can I learn from their journey that I can apply to mine? That shift turns envy into empowerment. The moment you stop comparing, you start appreciating. You start living your truth instead of someone else's version of success.
You begin to realize that joy was never gone. It was just buried under the illusion of better. And when that illusion breaks, you see clearly your journey with all its imperfections and setbacks is exactly where it needs to be. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotional states you can live in because it shifts everything: your energy, your focus, your state of mind. You can't feel anger, fear, or jealousy in the same moment you feel gratitude. It's impossible. Your nervous system can't hold those two emotions together. It's where people who practice gratitude consistently live happier, calmer, and more fulfilled lives, not because they have more, but because they see more. They've trained their mind to look for what's good, even when life doesn't look perfect. And that shift in focus changes everything. Most people live their lives chasing happiness as if it's a destination. They think, I'll be happy when I get the job, the house, the car, the body, the relationship. But that's an illusion, because the moment you get what you thought would make you happy, the goalpost moves again. You adapt, and suddenly, what once excited you becomes ordinary. That's the trap of conditional happiness. Gratitude breaks that pattern. It reminds you that joy doesn't live in the future. It lives in this moment right now and the things you already have. When you start to practice gratitude, your mind begins to rewire itself. It stops obsessing over what's missing and starts focusing on what's working. You begin to notice the simple blessings: your breath, your health, your ability to think, the people who care about you. These aren't small things, they're everything. And when you truly feel grateful, not just say you are, your energy shifts. You walk differently, you speak differently, you attract differently. You start to operate from abundance instead of scarcity. But gratitude isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you choose to feel. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with use. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. You can wake up every day and say, nothing's working, or you can wake up and say, everything is teaching me. That one decision changes your state from powerless to powerful. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it gives you perspective. It allows you to say, yes, this moment is hard, but I'm still blessed, even in failure. Gratitude gives meaning. It allows you to see lessons instead of losses. You begin to understand that every experience, good or bad, is shaping you into something stronger. When life doesn't go your way, gratitude is what keeps you grounded. It's the anchor that keeps your heart open. Without it, your mind will always find reasons to be unhappy. With it, you always find reasons to smile. When you live in gratitude, you stop chasing joy because you become joy. You realize that happiness isn't something to achieve, it's something to access. And that access point is gratitude, pure, simple, powerful. It doesn't require more money, more success, or more recognition. It only requires awareness, the decision to look at what's already good and let that goodness fill you. Because when gratitude lives in your heart, nothing in the world can steal your joy. Joy doesn't exist somewhere far off in the future or hidden in the memories of the past. It exists in this very moment. Most people spend their entire lives mentally anywhere but here. They replay old wounds, mistakes, and regrets like a broken record. Or they live in constant anxiety about what's next, chasing a future they never quite reached. And that's how joy is stolen. Not by circumstance, but by distraction. So fixated on what was or what could be that it forgets to experience what is. Presence is power because it's the only place life actually happens. The past is gone, the future doesn't exist yet. All you truly have is now. And when you learn to anchor yourself in this moment, everything changes. Your stress dissolves. Your energy realigns. You start to see beauty in the simplest things. The sound of laughter, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your breath. It's not that life suddenly becomes easier. It's that you stop missing it. The human mind is an incredible tool, but it's a terrible master. Left unchecked, it will drag you through stories of what went wrong, what might go wrong, or what others think of you. You start living in a reality created by your fears and doubts instead of the truth of what's in front of you. That's why awareness is everything. When you catch yourself drifting into the noise of your thoughts, you have to pause and ask, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. That single moment of awareness pulls you back into presence. And in presence, joy is always available. Being present doesn't mean ignoring your responsibilities or pretending problems don't exist. It means meeting life with full awareness instead of resistance. It's about giving your attention completely to what you're doing, whether that's working, talking, or simply breathing, because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your attention. If your mind is constantly scattered, your joy will be too. But when you focus your energy fully on the moment in front of you, you find a deep sense of peace that can't be shaken by what's happening around you. The reason presence is so powerful is because it frees you from identification with your thoughts. You stop being the thinker and you become the observer. You realize you're not your fears, not your regrets, not your to-do list. It's find it all calm, steady, and alive. And in that realization, joy naturally emerges. Because joy isn't something you create, it's something you uncover when the noise of the mind fades away. When you learn to live in the now, even ordinary moments feel extraordinary. You stop waiting for someday to be happy and start experiencing the fullness of life as it unfolds. The most powerful people in the world, the ones who radiate calm confidence and purpose, have mastered this. They don't chase time, they inhabit it. And that's the secret. Joy is never out there. It's always been right here, waiting for you to be fully present. One of the most subtle and powerful ways we lose our joy is by making our sense of worth dependent on other people's approval. From the moment we're young, we're conditioned to seek validation, to perform for praise, to please others so we can feel accepted, fitted so we don't feel left out. But as adults, that same pattern becomes a prison. You start basing your value on how people respond to you, their opinions, their reactions, their words. When they like you, you feel high. When they criticize you, you crash. And suddenly your emotional state is no longer yours. The crowd validation is addictive because it feels good. It gives a quick hit of significance, of being seen. But the problem is it never lasts. The moment fades and you're left craving more. That's why so many people live in a constant cycle of seeking approval, posting for attention, working for recognition. But here's the truth. The more you chase validation, the less fulfilled you feel. Because the need for validation comes from a place of emptiness, and no amount of outside approval can fill an internal void. Real confidence doesn't come from what others think of you. It comes from what you know about yourself. It's built on integrity, not image. When you stop living for likes and start living from purpose, something shifts inside you. You begin to move with authenticity instead of anxiety. You stop trying to be impressive and start being real. And that's when true joy begins to grow, because your happiness is no longer fragile, no longer dependent on whether someone else, you or not. When you seek constant validation, you give people power over your emotions. You start editing yourself to please them. You hesitate to take risks because you're afraid of judgment. You hold back your truth because you want to be liked. And every time you do, you shrink a little more. But when you stop chasing approval, you start reclaiming your energy. You become grounded in your own sense of worth, a worth that doesn't rise or fall based on someone else's perception. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop needing them to define you. You can listen to feedback without being controlled by it. You can be open without being desperate for validation. And that kind of freedom creates unshakable joy because you're no longer living in fear of rejection. You're living in alignment with who you really are. You'll notice that the people who radiate peace, the ones who seem untouchable by judgment or gossip, are the ones who know who they are. They've made peace with themselves. They understand that validation is fleeting, but self-respect is permanent. When your happiness comes from self-respect, from knowing you're living by your values and showing up as your authentic self, no one can take that from you. Approval may come and go, but joy rooted in self-acceptance stays unshaken. So many people spend their lives chasing perfection, believing that once everything is flawless, then they'll finally feel joy. But perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target that keeps you running but never arriving. The truth is, happiness doesn't come from reaching some ideal version of success. It comes from progress, from knowing you're growing, evolving, and moving forward, even in small steps. When you stop measuring your worth by perfection and start celebrating progress, your entire energy changes. Because progress gives purpose to pain. It turns struggle into strength and failure into feedback. There's something deeply fulfilling about knowing you're improving, not competing with others, but becoming a better version of yourself.
Joy lives. You feel it when you take the first step toward a goal, when you break a bad habit, when you overcome a fear that once held you hostage. Each small victory builds momentum. It fuels confidence. It tells your brain, I'm capable. And that belief becomes the foundation of lasting joy.
Because joy isn't about having everything. It's about realizing you already have everything you need to take the next step. Perfection steals joy because it creates pressure. You start to believe you have to have it all figured out before you can feel happy. But progress sets you free. It says you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep moving. Every day you show up, you're building character. Every time you fall and get back up, you're proving resilience. Every moment you learn, grow, and adapt, you're creating a sense of fulfillment that perfection could never give you. That's why progress feels so good. It aligns with our deepest human need. Think about it. Everything in nature is designed to grow. Trees, rivers, even the human spirit. The moment growth stops, life begins to decay. It's the same with your emotional and mental state. When you're growing, you feel alive. When you're stagnant, you feel frustrated, anxious, and stuck. That's why joy fades when you stop challenging yourself. You might have comfort, but without progress, comfort becomes a cage. Growth is what turns life into adventure again. Even failure can be joyful when you see it through the lens of progress. Because failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. Every setback carries a lesson that moves you forward. When you start focusing on learning instead of losing, you turn pain into progress. You begin to appreciate the process rather than obsessing over the outcome. And that shift makes you unstoppable. When you look back, it's never the perfect days that gave you the most joy. It's the days you pushed through resistance, the moments you surprised yourself with your own strength. Progress reminds you that you're evolving, that you're becoming more than you were yesterday. And that's where fulfillment lives, not at the finish line, but in the climb. In the beautiful, messy process of becoming. Your joy is sacred, and the truth is not everyone or everything around you deserves access to it. In a world that's constantly loud, constantly demanding your attention, your energy becomes your most valuable currency. Every thought you think, every conversation you have, every piece of content you consume either builds you or drains you. Most people don't lose their joy because life is cruel. They lose it because they give their focus away to things that don't deserve it. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential. It's the act of guarding your mental and emotional space so that you can stay aligned with your highest self. When you start to value your energy, you begin to notice what steals it. Maybe it's a toxic relationship, a negative environment, or the endless scroll of comparison on social media. These things slowly drain your spirit. One thought at a time until you wake up feeling heavy and disconnected. You start reacting instead of creating. You let the world set your emotional temperature. But when you protect your energy, you take your power back. You stop letting external noise dictate your inner peace. You realize you can't control everything that happens, but you can control what you give your attention to. Protecting your energy means setting boundaries and sticking to them. It means saying no when something doesn't serve your growth, even if it disappoints people. It means recognizing that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every opinion needs to be heard. You start to understand that peace is more valuable than being right, and clarity is more important than approval. When you stop pouring energy into things that drain you, you create space for what energizes you: growth, creativity, purpose, and joy. Energy is also affected by your environment, the people you surround yourself with, the conversations you entertain, the habits you practice daily. If you're constantly around negativity, your mindset becomes toxic. But if you fill your space with people and practices that lift you up, your spirit thrives. Protecting your energy is about intentionally choosing what you feed your mind and heart. It's realizing that what you consume mentally, emotionally, and spiritually shapes how you feel and who you become. You also protect your energy by managing your internal dialogue. The most draining voice you'll ever hear isn't from the outside, it's the one in your head. When you let fear, guilt, or doubt run wild, you sabotage your peace from within. The solution isn't to silence those thoughts, but to shift them. Replace judgment with compassion, criticism with encouragement, fear with faith. You have to become the guardian of your own vibration. When you master your focus, you master your life. Protecting your energy means choosing presence over pressure, peace over chaos, and alignment over approval. Because joy doesn't survive in noise, it grows in stillness. The more intentional you become with your energy, the more unshakable your joy becomes. So what's stealing your joy right now? Is it comparison? Is it guilt? Is it fear? Whatever it is, it's time to let it go, because you can't carry pain and peace in the same heart. You can chase validation and live with fulfillment at the same time. Happiness isn't something you find, it's something you choose. It's in the breath you take, the gratitude you feel, the love you give. Don't let the noise of the world drown out the music in your soul. Stop waiting to be enough. Start realizing you already are. Because the moment you stop comparing, the moment you stop judging, the moment you start living, that's the moment you reclaim your joy. And once you do, nothing, no one, no circumstance can take it away again. This steals your joy, but only if you let it.